Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Audrey Keruly. I'm with Withum, Smith & Brown in the ERP Advisory. We have Ashley here as well as Christina. Christina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Glad to be here. My name is Christina Barea, and I'm with Audrey on the ERP and Technology Advisory side at Withum. And we have our wonderful guest, Ashley, here from RF Smart. Ashley, would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. I'm excited for our coffee chat. So I am a partner manager at RF Smart. I've been with RF Smart for about a year. So what a partner manager is I work with companies like Withum really to provide the best support we can for our NetSuite customers. There's a lot that goes on with NetSuite, and we are the WMS side of that. So we'll get a little bit about WMS shortly, but that is what I do.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about RF Smart. What do you do exactly?
So RF Smart has a WMS solution for NetSuite, a few other ERPs as well, but our primary side of WMS is for NetSuite. So I'll start by just saying what a WMS is. We might have some people who aren't quite familiar with that term. So what a WMS solution is it enables barcoding and scanning in your warehouse. So you see the people with the scanners scanning things, moving things. A WMS is allowing full traceability from the receiving process, basically when product is coming into your warehouse, all the way when it goes out to ship to the end customer. So it's really a tracking system for the movement of inventory.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So what makes RF Smart stand out from other solutions?
So when I talk about RF Smart, I kind of break it down into three areas, kind of how we stand out, how we differentiate ourselves. So I'll start with just the company side. So we've been building WMS solutions for 40 years now. 1982 is when we were founded. We are a family-owned company. So George Morales founded it. His son, Michael Morales, is now the CEO. And we've been doing this for 40 years. We started back in the J.D. Edwards space and then Microsoft. And as things sort of moved to the cloud, we built our products for NetSuite for about 10 years. So there's a lot of longevity and experience that comes along with our team. So we're roughly 350 employees, I would say. So it's got a great depth of team members across the globe. With that, we've got 1,500 plus NetSuite customers at this point. So we really have a global presence, a lot of support that goes with that. We'll talk about maybe some support items later on. But there's the longevity and the experience behind that. So chances are we've seen what's going on in your operations, and we've helped a lot of companies more efficiencies in their warehouse. So there's the company side, right? Our experience is, can be unmatched, but also the product itself. So from a functional standpoint, really what we do is we take the core of NetSuite and we enhance that. So we provide a growing array of functions to support, again, that movement, the management, the fulfillment of inventory, all in real time across your entire business. So we have some advanced features as well. So things like cycle counting is really important. Advanced picking methods, really some strategic ways to get your warehouse workers to the right place, doing the right thing, as well as some various things that we can do with packing when the inventory goes out, right? So there's the product itself, there's our experience, and the ability to grow. So RF Smart, our WMS, is something we want to be the last investment for a WMS for our customers. So RF Smart is an extremely scalable solution. So we work with customers from startup, kind of pre-revenue, that come to us saying, hey, we just want to be able to scan things as they come into the door. Maybe we want to be able to count, right? We need to make sure we know what we have at all times, all the way up to sort of enterprise level customers, right, who need things like automation and completely automating their processes in the warehouse. So the scalability is a huge part of things. And on top of that, we are a built for NetSuite solution. So what that means, maybe we could talk a bit about different SuiteApps. Maybe start there.
Yeah, I was just going to step in and ask you, I mean, you've said a couple of very compelling things that are features that are important for listeners who might be evaluating a WMS solution should know. One of them is, what is that special relationship that you have with the NetSuite platform itself, specifically being the native application? Can you expand on that a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are various types of SuiteApps out there. A SuiteApp is, again, something that enhances that. It's a product that enhances that core NetSuite platform. So NetSuite does a lot of things, but there's a lot of partners out there like RFSmart who expand on that and enhance that. In our case, we bring it mobile. So we're a native SuiteApp, which means we are built on top of the NetSuite platform. So RFSmart can't operate without NetSuite. It was built specifically for that, and we need it to operate. So what that means is the user is never going to be outside of NetSuite. So think of almost like NetSuite being that core, and when the workers are out there in the warehouse on their mobile devices, they're seeing RFSmart, but everything is being updated in real time on NetSuite. So it kind of stays as that one source of truth. Versus some others, there's hybrid. Does that make sense? So there's hybrid and there's integrated, which are a little different.
Yeah, and I was just going to expand on that because that's a very important subject for people who are managing high volume transactions, that there's no lag typically between when we use separate siloed systems and there's a dependency on a type of transfer or a syncing between platforms. Periodically throughout the day, when we're doing an implementation in a sophisticated solution, we have to begin to ask questions. Well, how frequently do you sync? What's your volume transaction load look like? We have to begin to account for the lag in communication between warehouse and the core ERP. But in this case, RFSmart being a native for NetSuite application, then what we do is we reduce or eliminate completely that particular lag that's between syncing.
Yeah, exactly. And you eliminate the need for some of those like integration tools, right, that you might need with some solutions that are hybrid integrated. So some of those can sit separately from NetSuite. So a huge benefit for our customers is being able to use NetSuite for the reason they bought it, right? It's supposed to be that sort of one source of truth for the entire business. And that entire business for product companies is a lot of times the product and that movement, and you have to have that visibility, and there's really just no room for that sort of lagging, right? It can really cause some inefficiencies and discrepancies as far as what's showing in NetSuite and what might actually be out there on the floor.
Yeah, and that's important, of course, for example, in our e-commerce customers, because we need to know exactly how much stock is available on hand in the warehouse if we're going to promise. And so in an e-commerce implementation, there is going to be a syncing between the e-commerce platform and the ERP or NetSuite itself to understand where inventory levels are. So it's important that we have as much accuracy as possible so that we can promise product to customers on a website and not have to send notices after the fact saying, well, we overpromised, we don't have that in stock.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really all about being proactive, right, about your order volume. And, you can do that with a system in place like RFSmart. So you can really get granular with the transactions that are happening in your warehouse, and you can then plan for demand, right? So it really just allows that proactive sort of planning for, hey, we have this much on hand, maybe we need to order more, especially for, like you mentioned, those high volume warehouses or warehouses that have particularly high volume items, right?
Yeah, and it made me, I was recalling another warehouse. So there's a variety of applications for an automation tool, such as RFSmart offers, not just inside of a warehouse. It could be tracking assets and inventory that are out in a field somewhere as well. So if there's a construction area or some other external place where we need to track assets. But what I love about having an automation tool in the warehouse is, of course, having that accuracy and inventory count and stock availability for orders. But what it also does is it provides a CFO with the visibility as to how much of their stock is, how much of their financial assets is tied up in stock at the moment, what needs to be procured for manufacturing or for assembly versus what can we count on that we already have here. And, just to kind of embellish this particular area, we at Withum, we walk into a lot of warehouses and to facilities to view how they're operating and assist them with the process of selecting software and automation tools to help them become more efficient and more accurate in their business operations. And just one story that I have in this area where how important it is a client in the past that I worked with that they sold blinds like what go on windows, right? So, but their business was so profitable. They didn't have an automation tool, and so everything was done manually. So people walked around with a piece of paper and they checked off the piece of paper from the sales orders as they picked it and prepped it for shipping. But what happened is that they discovered over time that they were losing probably a good 30% of their inventory due to both shrinkage, errors in picking, they were shipping the wrong product, or they thought they had product and they didn't have product. And so they were about 30% of their inventory was just up in the air. So a tool like this is extremely valuable for people who need to have a tighter control that maybe don't have as big margin.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's for that 30% number, like that to me is just, it's so crazy because there are, so think of taking that 30%, what you lost, and you could have invested in technology, right? To sort of, again, it goes back to being proactive, preventing those losses. So when you think of RF Smart, again, so when you think of a warehouse, right? And when you think of RF Smart operating in a warehouse, you can sort of think of like some key areas where those problems can be prevented. So we always kind of have the concept of what starts right stays right. So think of the inventory coming in at the door, right? There's a receiving process. So all of those items coming in need to be accounted for, and there needs to be a receipt for those. All of that a lot of times is being done manually. And it's not something that should be, right? Because those numbers and whatever's being inputted into your ERP is going to be tracked throughout, right? And then it can only get worse from there if there's those manual processes in place. So from receiving, right, you're scanning to receive these products. So again, all of that is updating in NetSuite in real time. Then you might have something like a directed put away. So that's that validation of we're putting it in the right place, we're putting it in the right bin, that's where this item stays, that's where it's housed, and then that's where somebody is going to come and pick it, right? So there's the receiving, there's the put away, and then you have on the fulfillment side some of the picking, right? There's validation for all of those pieces, even through the manufacturing process. If you're manufacturing a good or you're assembling a good to be put together, shipped out together, it could be as simple as just like some kitting, or even, looking more at like whip and routing, sort of a lot of processes that go in place. All of those components and everything going through that process should be tracked. You should know who touched it, who moved it, who did what, when, how long did it take them, because that's really, again, all about, one, the efficiencies, how much time the scanning is eliminating for the worker, but also knowing what went where and who did it and when did they do it, right? So it's really being proactive about, we don't want to lose 30% of our inventory again. So we need to have this process in place to have that traceability and that visibility into what's going on in the warehouse, right?
Absolutely. Well, I do know that you are going to SuiteWorld this year. So why is it that we should go visit you at SuiteWorld?
Yeah. So I bragged on our experience and our people earlier. I think if you're planning to go to SuiteWorld, please come see us. Please come meet some of these people that I've just bragged on, because we'll have kind of a variety of people there. So we'll have salespeople, we'll have executive team, we will have solution consultants. So those are the ones that kind of know the ins and outs of the technical pieces of the product, and can really say, hey, if you're doing this in your warehouse, this is what it would look like in the product, right? And you can really see how RF Smart interacts with NetSuite in live time. So we'll be running demos at the booth that we have there, and also meet our team. They're really fantastic. We'll have, like I said, wide range of people, product people, solution consulting people. My team will be there, who work with all of the partners out there, all of our fantastic partners. So I'd love for you to come and meet us. We'll also be running some sessions there. So we have a session on with our customer features. They're a stock, like they distribute stocks, like running stocks. So they'll be there. We'll be doing a session with them, just kind of talking about their experience with RF Smart. So I would love for you to come meet us. We'll be there. You probably won't be able to miss our booth. So, so come see us.
Awesome.
So Ashley, you brought up something pretty interesting. We do have a success story of Withum with RF Smart using one of your more advanced tools. I was wondering if maybe you could speak just a little bit about your pick planner and your pick manager.
Yeah. So I did mention the advanced picking strategies earlier, and I want to back up for a second too before I address some of those. So I mentioned the scalability of RF Smart and how we really want our customers to be able to grow within the product. So I'd say a big portion of the NetSuite customers that come to us are sort of that startup kind of pre-revenue. Again, maybe they're just looking for, I need to scan my items when they come in the warehouse. Maybe I need to count, and maybe I just need to do some picking, right? So sort of simple functionality for those sorts of customers a lot of times. But then they want more, right? They start growing. That's why they invested in NetSuite and RF Smart in the first place, because they expect growth and they're preparing for that growth. So they start to need more things like our pack station, right? Validating by scanning those things that are being shipped out to the customers, and also getting really advanced with some of their strategies. So picking is one of those. So Christina mentioned Pick Planner. One of our mutual customers is using Pick Planner. It's probably our most advanced picking module. And what it basically allows is the warehouse manager can go into NetSuite and RF Smart. Again, it's one platform. So they're going into NetSuite, RF Smart, and they can basically set up a pick plan, right? Hence Pick Planner. They can filter certain criteria. So maybe they want to group orders a certain way. Maybe they want to group one-day shipping orders. Maybe they want to group orders from the same customer, or something along those lines. So they really want to be strategic about who's doing what in the picking process. So it gives the ability for the warehouse manager to set that up, and it also runs automatically. So it will run, the pick plans will be sent to the warehouse workers, and from there, the RF Smart will guide them on the best pick path. So if you've been in a warehouse before, which Christina, I know you've been in plenty, and our team has certainly seen many, many, many warehouses. But if you've been in a warehouse before, there's people walking, right? There's people walking, there's people doing things. And what Pick Planner allows is, hey, there's a lot of wasted time when you're walking from one end to the other end of the warehouse. And then you have multiple people doing that. That's a lot of time, a lot of money on labor spent during the picking process. That's delaying shipments getting out, and we want to prevent that delay that ultimately causes customer dissatisfaction if things aren't sent out on time, that sort of thing. So RF Smart will guide those workers, depending on a certain sequence of, hey, go pick at this bin, go pick at this bin, and it'll guide them on that sort of best pick path, which is really fantastic. It's amazing some of the things that these technologies can do. So it's really getting granular with that process and really defining what the warehouse manager might want that process to look like of picking. I hope I explained that okay. Does that make sense? But it's fully automating that picking process. So again, the schedules are set up and they run.
Yeah, so it sounds like definitely echoing what you're saying. There's an efficiency in the usage of labor. In other words, planning their movement so that there's maximization of time as they move around the distance and the space inside of the warehouse. There's an efficiency in the accuracy of the picking and or putting away. And there's visibility that goes directly real time into the ERP for financials and for decision-making reporting and so on, which is invaluable when you're running a tight ship. These things become exceedingly important.
Right. Well, not to mention too, like labor is a big problem these days, and saving any labor time that you can is so important. We look at a lot of metrics when we talk about sort of ROI for these systems, and labor productivity is one of those, because it's one of the biggest issues. I think companies, especially warehouses, right? It's hard to find people who want to work in those warehouses, right? Sometimes it can be rougher conditions, right? It's definitely a physical labor. It's hard to find people, I think, to fill those positions. So the more you can automate these processes and have something super simple, a scanner, it's telling you where to go, it's telling you what to scan, what to do, is super important. So labor productivity is a huge metric that we use to sort of measure efficiency. So there's the labor productivity saving on, I mean, you'd be surprised. So we hear of customers counting, like let's take counting for an example. Picking is one example. There's a lot of time wasted running back and forth between the warehouse if you're not doing sort of an efficient path, right? Or going on an efficient path. But take counting for an example. So counting, super important these days. Again, supply chain issues on top of the labor issues, just not being able to get product on time, or you really need to understand what you have at all times. So what's on hand, what can I get shipped out the door, what can I promise to customers? So take counting for an example. We hear of a lot of customers either shutting down their operations to count, or bringing in everybody on a Sunday. Hey, let's count from 9 to 5. That's overtime, right? That's overtime labor. That's very, very inefficient. Where with something like RF Smart, you can do that during production, right? You can be counting while you're picking, and all of these things can be going on at once because everything is being updated in NetSuite as it's transacting. So lots of labor savings there. And then there's some other various things like other key metrics. I don't know if we want to dive into that we kind of look at when we talk to customers about efficiency. Happy to elaborate on those too.
how about we do another follow-up coffee chat like this and go into more detail on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's funny, right? How when I started RF Smart, who knew I would be so passionate about warehousing and warehousing efficiency, but I could go on and on because it's important, right? It's important for these organizations, companies that you see every day out there. And, they're our customer, and we want to make them the most efficient that we possibly can. And we really pride ourselves on transforming our customers' lives, and that's, like, it sounds cheesy, but that's what we do, and that's what we want to do and want to continue to do.
I love it. I think that what we should do then is invite everybody out to SuiteWorld, where we can see you in person and you can give us a demo, and we can have an uninterrupted, lengthy conversation about all of the benefits of our Smart and warehouse management system.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know time is short on these webinars, but again, I could go on and on. So definitely come see us at SuiteWorld. I know Christina and Audrey and team will be there as well. So we're really looking forward to seeing some of you guys there. Yep. Picking up the conversation, I will probably also have coffee there too.
Then we can cheers to
yeah, right. Cheers.
More coffee.
I love it.
Well, thanks, Ashley.
Awesome.
Really appreciate that. That's great. Great information you shared today, very much. And your passion is palpable.
Well, thank you guys so much again for having me. We definitely want to do another one of these soon. And everyone, we'd love to see you at SuiteWorld again. And as Audrey mentioned earlier, please reach out to any of us if you have any questions.